Good morning. Happy Wellness Wednesday. I'm here with Hargobind Khalsa of Casa Om, Potomac. Welcome, Hargobind.
Thank you so much for having me, Laurel. It's an honor to be here with you, and thanks for tracking me down.
Absolutely. I am just going to share real quick why you're on here. I was searching for a place to hold a yoga and brain health retreat and had been kind of Googling for a couple months without success. Nothing really hit me like, yes, this is definitely where I want to hold it. And then I put it away, for a couple months and then researched. And all of a sudden, Casa Om Potomac and Hargobind came up, and I started looking at it and researching it and thought, oh my gosh, 100%, I don't have to look anymore. This is exactly where I want to be. So thank you for creating the space that you have created. I want to hear the story. Can you please share the story about how you got here?
Totally. So I grew up in an ashram, it's basically like a yoga commune. And it was actually in Virginia, and I lived there till I was about 12. And then I went to India. And in India, I went to boarding school, and it was just a wild time to be in India. It was a wild experience being a 12-year-old boy. I lived there till I was 17. And when I came back to the United States, I was very lonely. And being in these communal structures, for better or worse, provided a social environment and almost like a disciplined structure, more or less based on health, that I always missed. And so when I came back to the United States, it took me a few years to kind of realize, all right, what are these community-based elements? What are these healthy habits? What are these ideas that I really missed about my unique experiences growing up, and especially the experiences from India? And I wondered, how could I recreate those into a business and a livelihood in a way that I could sustainably share this with other people? Right about that same time, I started to learn about yoga retreats, and I really used so many of the yoga practices, from Ashtanga to Kundalini to Bikram to Vinyasa to a lot of other kind of more functional movement practices to kind of heal myself, because I had a bunch of kind of crazy injuries, from breaking my back to breaking a bunch of bones in my face. And so I thought, all right, wouldn't a yoga retreat concept be amazing to kind of solve a lot of the problems that I think are just really, an epidemic in American society, from, just people not taking care of themselves, not making healthy habits, not eating good food, not surrounding themselves with other, positive mindset people. And so I thought, okay, what if I were to bake all of these ideas into these yoga retreat concepts? And then I just went for it. And that's kind of how we ended up with the Casa Om and Casa Om Potomac concepts. And then amazing people like you found us, and the rest is history being written. How's that for a story?
That sounds great. So I know that Casa Om Potomac is your second retreat space. So you had already been through this once in Mexico. So what did you learn, like, on first time around, and what did you want to create in West Virginia?
The first time around, I think I had a hypothesis, and I felt confirmed in my hypothesis that there was this need, and we could create these concepts. And so that was the first time around. What I also learned was how much we had forgotten how hard it is to build these places. And in hindsight, my memory is so optimistic and positive that I figured, West Virginia, how hard could it be to create a concept like this? And new culture, new environment. It's a big property. It's about 63 acres, 12,000 square feet of construction, beautiful yoga room. It overlooks the river. There's a pool, a hot tub, a commercial kitchen, 12 bedrooms, 10 of which are available to you and the public. So I think I learned a lot of good things, and also just you better love the work, because it's a lot. But we do, and so it's great. So those were some of the quick lessons.
Yeah. So it comes through. It shows that you love what you do. I know that from what I have read from the reviews, customer service is like extremely important. People talked about how welcome they felt immediately upon arrival. What are your kind of tenets? Like, how do you run a retreat? I mean, you run your own retreats there, and other yoga teachers come in and run retreats. What are like your, the top 3 things when you're running a retreat that, what are your intentions? What do you start with?
So I would say what inspires me most is this concept of Seva. Obviously, this is a business. We charge money, people pay us. We are we are very blessed to be receiving resources for our labor. But on the spiritual level, I look at it like Seva. And the concept of Seva is just that you just be of service, and you cultivate this mindset that you're going to do as best as you can for your people as frequently and as often as possible. And people are coming in for all kinds of reasons, with all types of backgrounds, all body shapes, all body sizes. Really, I love that our clientele is very diverse. And I used to do all types of surveying and asking people what they were coming for and what they want. And it really just boiled down to, and this is what I preach to our team: whoever comes, let's uplift them. Whoever comes, let's show them a slightly better meal. Whoever comes, let's help them improve their yoga poses. And whoever comes, just find a way to have enough tools in the toolkit that we can be uplifting to whoever visits us. And that's what I preach, and that's the kind of spiritual concept that that we follow as Seva.
Yeah, awesome. Be of service. So one thing that grabbed me, obviously, it was pictures. I had lived in, well, first it was pictures, and then it was a story, and then all the testimonials. But I kept going back to the pictures because I lived in Scotland for 2 years. I was part of an international women's community there. When I came back, I felt like you said you felt when you came back from India. Something was missing. And I thought about, what was it that I loved so much about Scotland? It was, number one, the community that I had, like this beautiful, diverse group of women supporting each other, and beauty on my doorstep, like everywhere I looked, beautiful. To the point where, as I get older, beauty becomes more important, where 20 years ago, if my husband got me flowers, I was like, oh, such a waste of money. They're gonna die. Get me a house plant that will last for a while. And I had a farmer friend who brought me flowers from her garden when I gave birth to my 3rd child. And they would sit on my kitchen table, and I would just stare at them and almost cry. And she raised this nonprofit farm with the terms beauty, bounty, and balance. And she really preached beauty. And I'm like, you know what? Beauty is important. It is important to immerse yourself. And that is what I felt when I looked at your space. We are going to wake up and be in a beautiful space. It's healing, it's nourishing. Thank you for putting your time and effort and energy into making it beautiful. I mean, you have the land, which was there for you, but then you did so much work to create beauty. I mean, was that part of your plan? Obviously it was. What went into the creation of the physical space?
So we wanted to do, I think, a mix of 3 ideas. One was this West Virginia country hospitality, this sort of Mexican influence from our original Casa Om, and then the big India influence from Jodhpur, and our connections to really a lot of the friends that I've had my whole life, kind of growing up in India. So we sourced all of our furniture and furnishings came from Jodhpur. And Jodhpur is just an amazing city in India. If you ever get a chance to go, you've got to go through. It's just really the antique capital, hand carving, iron working capital of India, and just the level of craftsmanship is unbelievable. So that component of, sort of a mix of those three cultural ideas kind of guided our design concept. And I think even from yoga practice, this was an inspiration that I had, and really that I keep preaching with our team, is that we are the sum of all of our details. And a beautiful space or a beautiful meal or even a beautiful yoga pose seems effortless from the viewer, but from the inside, it's just a million little details coming together to create something beautiful and fantastic. So that is something that I keep preaching to our team, and really try to follow myself, is that we're constantly improving our spaces, we're constantly making them better, we're constantly putting the energy in with the hopes that you as the consumer feel like, oh, that was nice. But behind the scenes, it's really just being, summing up as many details as you can. And I even teach that in my yoga classes. Like that's, it's, option one, do the pose. Option two, do the pose with intention, and then take it from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you just dripped in the little things, like what you can do on the mat, you can take off the mat as well. Yeah. Absolutely. So, as far as like logistics of what a retreat looks like and what's available, you mentioned 10 bedrooms, a pool, a hot tub. What are some of the things that people look forward to or are surprised by when they show up that are at Casa Om Potomac?
A major kind of positive is our bonfire area, because it overlooks the river. And then oftentimes you get a really beautiful star-filled sky at night. So we do s'mores every night if people want them, bonfires if they want them. I'm proud of that area because I leveled it with an excavator, and I rented an excavator for my birthday a couple years ago. And I went into the forest and I picked up these giant boulders, and then I put the boulders onto my little trailer, and then I pulled the boulders with my truck all the way around up. And then I sat the boulders like in my kind of driveway area for 3 more months till I could afford to rent another excavator. Then I took the boulders and I put them along the side of of my little perch. Then I leveled the area with dirt. I rented a stump grinder and grinded all the stumps, and then made like a little flat bonfire area that like overlooks the river. So that I love to tell everyone about, and generally nobody really is that interested. Like they're like, okay, Hargobind, we've heard this story like 5 times. We don't need to hear your excavator story again. But I tell it regardless. And then another thing that's really positive is there's 2 caves on the property that have tremendous historical significance. The primary one being called Indian River Cave, which I just think is so fascinating. Like just even looking the word Indian, how that's been used in America for so long, and sort of the misunderstanding of where the Spanish landed in this country. But this cave that's there was extremely well traveled and populated, going back probably 1,000 years. And it was a major trading post for the Opecan tribe. And so we have a little path down to it where I can take people in, and we do oftentimes cave meditations there. That's fun. Certainly the ice bath practice that you mentioned in one of your texts to me, that's a powerful practice just for balancing your energy and your stress. People love those. It's simple. It's a take-home practice. You can do it anytime. Certainly our hot yoga room, it overlooks the Potomac River. You get these amazing sunsets. You get great sunrises on the property. There's a lot to it. Yeah, there's really a lot to it. There's history. George Washington actually surveyed the property and got ownership of the property back in probably 1730, and then he sold it along pretty soon thereafter. Yeah, there's a lot to it. A lot of history, good culture, good energy, and a lot of good people have come. Doing
Awesome.
doing good positive change work. So it's a blessing.
Yeah. I'm going to circle back to the ice bath because I want to highlight that a little bit. And then I want to talk about food because food was part of one of our first conversations. And food is key and essential for, survival and probably somewhere on the top of people's lists when they're looking at retreat space. So I've never personally done an ice bath. I have been thinking about the possibility of maybe doing an ice bath for a while. I've done a cryotherapy. I do have MS, and engaging in cold is supposed to be very good and recommended. And then when I did brain health training, Recode 2.0 through Apollo Health with Dr. Bredesen, it came up again, cold and how good it is for you, and to challenge the body going back and forth between hot and cold, and the concept of hormesis, challenging your body. And so when you offered cold baths, I'm like, okay, this is the time to really give it a try. So I have listened to a Wim Hof interview. I know that you teach the Wim Hof breathing technique. For those people who maybe feel fearful and not really enthusiastic about being cold, like me, he had some suggestions that I'd like to share, or you can share, on how to build up to this potential couple minutes in the ice bath. Do you want to share? Should I share? I'd push you on the spot.
I'd love, yeah. I'd love your thoughts on building it up, and then I'll build on that. But yeah, I'd love your ideas.
Okay, so personally, I just started with splashing cold water on my face. It's good for your pores. Close your pores up after you wash your face with warm water. Just started there. But I'd been doing that for years. That wasn't a big deal. So then I started, okay, well, I'm going to add in a quick final rinse at the end of my shower. And that initially was not enjoyable at all. And I've gotten to the point where I have a handheld shower. And so I could control, okay, well, maybe I'm just going to put it on this shoulder or just on this shoulder. But to the point now where I can, enjoy actually standing under a cold shower for several minutes, where it started with literally 15 seconds just on one spot, maybe 5 seconds even, and gradually built up the time and increased the space on my body that was receiving the cold water, to the point where now I'm really looking forward to many minutes in an ice bath and learning the breathing technique from you. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's a great place to start. Where I usually start with the ice bath is coming back again to like the craziness of the way that most of us are living on this planet, where we've gotten so conditioned that we're miserable, and a little bit of heat or a little bit of cold, because I'm a huge fan of the hot yoga also. I love the hot yoga. I love the cold exposure. But the problem with our lifestyle is air conditioning, heating. It has to be 73 degrees always, or all of a sudden we're going to start complaining. And that mindset is crazy. The right mindset is like, I can handle adversity. I can handle obstacles. I can handle stress. And I'm training myself on a regular basis to be strong, to be in control of my emotions, to be just a greater version of myself than I was yesterday. And the cold exposure is a great example of that. So many people that I meet, when winter comes along, they complain about winter. And that's a quarter of your life. And in some places, it's a third or even half of your life. And if the weather is going to change, or it's too hot or too cold, that's literally 6 months out of a year. That's 50% of your life that you're going to be complaining about. And I just love the idea of like, oh, the cold now is a chance for me to increase adrenaline in my body. It's a chance for me to release positive hormones into my brain. It's a chance for me to get stronger, improve my circulation, improve my heart, improve my circulatory system. Oh, winter, I can't wait. And that mindset, now that's a third of your life or a quarter of your life that you're now looking forward to. So just starting there with the cold exposure is where I like to start. And so, yeah, it doesn't have to be aggressive. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be dangerous. It doesn't even have to be hardcore. It just has to be this idea of we're consistently expanding our comfort zone and our environments that we're happy in. And the same thing with the heat. You add the heat, 105 degrees, no problem. 110 degrees, global warming. Okay, the things that we now can't control, like our climates and our weather, don't bother us anymore. And that to me is why I love the practice. And then, yeah, getting started, you can start simple. I am a fan of just being like, go for it. But certainly you can start slow. I mean, I think the cold showers are great. The ice bath is great. Even in the winter, I leave my tub out, it freezes over, I get to go and break it and then jump in the ice. The river, in the winter is amazing. Obviously be safe, don't be going jumping into freezing rivers alone. But work yourself up to it. But it really can change your whole perspective of even the whole season. And even basic things like the rain. We were we had a bonfire 2 nights ago and it started to rain, and we were all just sitting out there enjoying the raindrops fall on us. And it's the more we can change our perspectives over nature and just appreciation of what's going on, rather than being like, oh, I need to go cover up and get my umbrella and I'm getting rained on and complain about that. It's like, oh no, this is kind of cool. Like, let's just sit in the rain and watch the fire and enjoy our company. And it was just a special moment. And I think the retreats open up that potential. So
I love that you really highlight like mindset, like the way you look at something can dramatically impact the way you feel about it. And two of my 3 kids are big fans of the rain, and they helped change my mindset. Like, they would literally go out, it's raining, let's go out and dance and play. I'm like, oh yeah, that can be fun. We don't have to run inside and grab an umbrella when it's raining. It can, if you change your mindset, beautiful things can happen.
Yeah.
Awesome. My background is in occupational therapy, and a large part of our training and theory that I was taught is to create something called a just right challenge. So you have, like, think of a bullseye, like the safety zone is in the middle, and like overwhelm is on the outside, and like the just right challenge is in the middle. And for, maybe that's a really thin line, and we try to like make that just right space bigger and bigger and bigger. And maybe for some people, they can, without any preparation, it's just right for them to just jump right in that ice cold bath. And for some people, they might have to spend a month or 2 building up to it. So that, I feel, is my job, to kind of find what's just right for the clients in front of me. So I appreciate that you, number 1, started with mindset, and number 2, talk about safety, because that's, of course, that's just right for everybody. I'm sure there's a story behind the broken back and face things. We'll dive into that another time. You sound like an
around,
adventurous go-getter that has good
around
stories.
the campfire, all stories will be told.
Yeah. So, okay, now about food. So,
Yeah.
in my past life, well, the current one, but a couple decades ago, I was vegetarian, and I was a terrible vegetarian.
Yeah.
Um, so when it was mentioned that this facility, the space is a vegetarian kitchen, I was slightly hesitant, but I know
Yeah.
that there is amazing ways to be healthy as a vegetarian,
Yeah.
and your focus is to create beautiful works of art. I mean, I've seen pictures of the food in that's created by your cook or chef or whoever is in the kitchen. So if you want to share a little bit about food, where you source your food. I know you have a source for eggs and greens, and what kind of your focus is on food in your retreat space.
So first off, I would say most people, almost no one who comes on our retreat is vegetarian. I could say that maybe 10 or 15%. So we know we're starting off with a skeptical crowd. People that are coming in and be like, oh, they just like took all the good stuff, and left the rabbit food for us. They're in the kitchen, they're cutting costs, by leaving out the meat. So we know coming in that people are generally not vegetarian, oftentimes not excited about what we're doing, and take it as a chance to kind of prove our worth and prove our value, that you can create really healthy, good tasting, beautiful meals for a wide section of the population, within the vegetarian lines. Certainly there are extremely unhealthy vegetarian dishes and food, and it really can be a problem for some people, but we kind of look at it like we're trying to kind of prove our value and prove our worth. Our basic philosophy on the vegetarian diet is multifold. I mean, one is that not everybody needs to consume so much meat all the time. The reason that we also do vegetarian and not vegan is just, in my personal experience, I've been vegetarian my whole life. I was raised vegetarian. My parents were vegetarians. And just kind of showing that diet can be healthy for some people, and making those little bits of changes are doable. On the vegan side, it has been more challenging for me to be vegan over a long period of time. So I kind of settled into this vegetarian idea. Part of the inspiration also came from just the idea of ahimsa and nonviolence to animals, and that we're not super fanatics about, because the animals are, we could have a whole discussion on maybe the hypocrisies of that, and I'm well aware of it, but just in general, we just found it to really work for what we were doing. It plays to our strengths. We're extremely passionate about making people happy, no matter what their diet is coming through. You had mentioned some stuff about some keto, and we do vegetarian keto, and we're kind of happy to be of service to our clients to the best of our abilities. So that's kind of some of the inspiration behind it.
Yeah, and I know that you have local eggs and local greens, so I always encourage, relationship with your local farmer as much as possible. So I was happy to hear that you do have some connections there. And as you mentioned, keto, in the brain health diet, we do try to get into ketosis. So we're going to be testing. It is definitely possible to get into ketosis in a vegetarian, with a vegetarian diet. So we're going to emphasize, regardless whether you're eating meat or not, we want to have like 70% of your food be vegetables. So you're already there with that. And then we're just going to add in healthy fat and healthy protein. The protein doesn't have to be an animal source. So I'm really looking forward to the dishes that we're going to come up with to serve the clients for the upcoming retreat, which is October 16th through 19th. And I will put a link in so people can see more information about that upcoming retreat. But like I mentioned earlier, you offer retreats all the time. And this is a place, I feel like you are a gift to the community, like near and far, because it's also pretty accessible from DC or Baltimore. You don't have to live in West Virginia to take advantage of what you're offering. And so I don't know, is there anything else that you want to share before we sign off?
I think this was a good summary. I'm super excited for your group. I'm super excited to work on your menu with you. And yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to host you. And we're gonna have a blast. It'll be great.
We are. I can't wait to hear stories around the campfire too, because I know there's some good stories.
I'll bring my best.
Yeah.
I'll bring my best.
Hargobind, it has been a pleasure chatting with you this morning. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your passion with others.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime, Laurel. Anytime.
Take good care.
You too. Bye.